When's the last time you felt scared playing DBD? As killer, do you feel like an unstoppable force as long as you play the selected killer properly and effectively? As survivor, do you feel like no matter what killer you're up against, you have a pretty simple path to victory? In this video, I want to talk about something that I'm certain will make some of you rush to the comments to tell me how angry you are, or it may make some of you say that you completely agree and have been feeling this way for quite some time. What I'm referring to is balancing. In this particular case, the balancing of how strong a killer feels to play as and against. With the recent release of the Chapter 32 PTB featuring the supremely evil and powerful Vecna, I started to feel as though this killer is honestly kind of weak feeling. Are killers starting to be more and more powerless in the face of balancing survivor playability? Let's talk about it. Alright, so let's get some preliminaries out of the way so you don't think I'm too much of a madman if you haven't clicked away yet. Hopefully you haven't. So if you can't tell already, I'm of course a killer main, but I do like to be fair and understanding of both roles in the game. So this video isn't me saying that playing killer should be necessarily easier than survivor. I also know that it depends on many variables like understanding counterplay, when to be altruistic, perk and add-on knowledge, how long you've been playing the game, and things like that. However, I do feel like as the game has progressed and aged, first off, I'm not someone to complain about this game and you know, be mad at behavior. I think they're doing an excellent job, and you know, for a game that's, you know, been around for as long as it has and listening to player feedback. Yes, I said they listen to player feedback, contrary to popular belief. If we're being honest with ourselves, we can see that the only reason that things change within the game is because of us, is because we say something or we let our voices be heard. So we really can't say behavior doesn't listen, because, you know, let's be real. But back on topic, I do kind of feel like on average, killer powers are either toned down a lot, obviously, to fit into the realm of the entity, or they're super powerful in PTB to be stripped once it gets to live servers, of course. Now again, I totally understand and agree that killers cannot be too overpowered or the trials just won't be fun for anybody. They won't be fun for survivors. I am saying that I really feel like more killers should be more of a force to deal with when played correctly, but just have a larger learning curve to compensate for that power. Which kicks off the first point of this video and our main question: why aren't there more S-tier killers in Dead by Daylight? So first off, let me go back to what I said about Vecna in the beginning. I do feel like he is severely underpowered and that he does need many buffs before he hits live servers. But I'm not a newbie to this. I get that it's the PTB, and it's, you know, I'm sure there will certainly be some adjustments. Like I said in the beginning, usually behavior does listen to what we say, which is why they have PTBs in the first place. If they didn't care about what we had to say, they wouldn't do that. They would just say, okay, here's what it is. Boom, take it. You know. So I'm sure that there will be adjustments, but I do personally feel as though Vecna is pretty underwhelming as far as how you feel, and this current PTB is what gave me the idea to make this video about, you know, it just feels like there aren't a lot of S-tier killers. There are 30 plus killers in this game now, and and of course, you know, in my opinion, but I would think largely most of us would agree that there are really only 2 killers that are somewhat game breaking / S-tier, and that is both Nurse and Blight. Now, of course, like I said, I like to be very fair and understanding, so I do understand that there are a lot of variables that go into having a certain type of killer. I just personally feel like with the way this game is, you know, we know that it's, you know, it is supposed to be a horror game. It is supposed to be, you know, one person trying to kill 4 people, those 4 people trying to survive. That's the core element of the game. And because it has its roots so deeply into the horror element, the Chapter 32 PTB kind of made me think more of like, you know what? I can't really remember the last time the game really felt scary. I mean, of course, you know, you have your clips where, you know, you may have a jump scare here and there, a Ghostface may pop up on you, or a Michael Myers. But what I'm really getting at with the S-tier killer conversation, there are really only 2 killers that you can pick in the game, in my opinion, of course. I'm gonna keep saying that because I'm sure some of you will agree. I mean, we'll agree or disagree, but in my opinion, there are really only 2 killers that almost no one would disagree that they aren't some of the 2 strongest killers in the game, and that is because of the way they are designed. I'm not saying that those are the only two strong killers in the entire game. I'm not saying that. There are plenty of viable killers that can put pressure on you. I mean killers that are like, that are really those S tier killers where they have a really strong power, but they have a very good drawback in their design, which is Nurse. As we all know, if you're not skilled with Nurse, you're losing that match. Like, it's almost 100% guaranteed that if you don't have a handle on her blinks, you're losing. All 4 survivors are getting away. But if you do have a handle on her blinks, then you are putting immense pressure onto the trial. Now, I'm not saying there are 30 plus killers in the game. There need to be 30 S tier killers. I'm not saying that. I do feel like there should be more of them though. I mean, Vecna, we've got Vecna on PTB, and I was just like, he has way, and I'm gonna say it, he has way too much counterplay, where it's almost like some of that stuff is like negated, honestly, where like all of his powers have a perfect counter, and it just, I don't know, all the matches that I played felt like stalemates, where it's like, okay, I don't really feel like I have you. Even me being a veteran at the game, yeah, we can all say the whole skill issue thing. Man, let's be real. We know that killer and a lot of killers are very underpowered. And I think that there are multiple reasons that they're doing that. But I just feel like we should have more killers that make the trial feel scary, other than Nurse and Blight. But the good thing about it is that they have a drawback, which is if you're not good with that killer, you're not having success. Blight, you mess around and miss time, your dashes, you're gonna fly across the map, so it's not that easy. So the cool part about the way those killers are designed is that they are very, very, very powerful when you use them correctly. And I think that makes a very fun type of trial for the matches, where you have survivors that are like, you're actually spawning in as survivor, like, let me pay attention, and then as killer, you always have to try as killer, but you really have to be good at that killer that you selected. And I just think that we should have more of those, and that's really what this video is about. I'm not saying that everyone should be S tier and everything should be difficult, because then you kind of lock out newer players and it makes the learning curve very steep. I'm not saying we should do all that. I just think that a game called Dead by Daylight, where it's one menacing killer versus 4 teenagers, I just think the killer shouldn't be a joke all the time is what I'm getting at. So I know that was a long-winded point. Moving right along. I think that the reason that there aren't that many super strong base kit killers is to make it convenient for new players. I know we have our, like the MMR or like the rank system, which kind of should filter that out kind of deal, but it still would be a deterrent if more killers, were on average harder to learn, harder to control. If we had too much of that, that would be a deterrent for new players. It could also be a deterrent for casual players who really, aren't playing it like every single day, but they're also not new players. It could be a deterrent for that. So I think that's probably why we don't have that many of those types of killers on behaviors, and that's what I would imagine. I also know there's the part of playing Survivor, where it has to be balanced. You don't want, the people playing Survivor to feel like, oh my God, I can't do anything. And that goes back to my original point about S tier killers and their design in general, where, being honest about it, you really don't feel like that unless the person playing with that S tier killer is really good. Case in point, I know we've all had a baby Nurse spawn into the match. Immediately, as soon as you see that Nurse missing all their blink attacks, you're like, oh, this is a free match. And it is. I was playing Survivor earlier today, actually, and we came across, not only was this person a new Nurse, they may have been a new player in general, but this person, out of the entire match, they may have gotten 3 hits, maybe 3 hits out of the entire trial. Because it's difficult. Obviously, me being a Nurse main, I played a match yesterday where it was just straight domination, because I have an understanding of how to play the killer. Even then, that match started off pretty badly, and I wasn't sure how it was gonna go. I had to lock in and really try and execute and do well, and I ended up getting the 4 kill. Because once again, Nurse being a strong killer, but coupled with me having a good understanding of her power. So that's that trade-off where, like I was saying in the match that I was playing a Survivor earlier today, that person did not have an understanding of how to play that S tier killer, so they got 0 results. Not some results, 0 results. So that's that trade-off, But yeah, so I think basically I would think that the reason that we don't have more of those super strong types of killers is, it's kind of a deterrent for newer players or casual players, so there can't be that many of them. I can understand that. So anyway, that's gonna wrap it up for today's video. Hopefully I didn't make too many of you upset. I just feel like I personally would like to see more strong killers on average and make the survivors have to fight for it a little bit more. I get that we got to balance the new players, we got to balance the casual players, we got to balance playability. You don't want someone too overpowered. I'm 100% for all of those things. I just feel like it would be a little more interesting to have killers that are like, no, this killer is strong and that's okay. I do feel like sometimes we kind of, our community kind of complains a little too quickly before we really get something, you know what I mean? Or before we even know about it. I've seen people that are not even on PC complain about PTBs without playing it themselves to get a feel for it. It's never going to be 100% of anything. I just think that it'd be fun to have killers that feel like unstoppable villains within reason. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up there, guys. Thanks for sticking around. I appreciate each and every one of you as always. Let me know how you guys feel. If you guys want more S tier killers, or you feel like there are a lot of killers that are toned down to, to compensate for the playability of the match. If you feel like that, even if you disagree, that's fine too. But as we always say, let's keep it friendly, let's keep it civil. As I always say, stay safe, and I will see you in the fog.